All right, so x equals pi. All right, number 2. All right, we have 2 cosine x plus square root of 3 equals 0. What's up? We need to get what by itself? So I'm going to move what over first? I'm going to divide by 2. Cosine of x equals negative root 3 over 2. Alright, now we have to think. Cosine is your x value. Which family has an x value of root 3 over 2? Pi over 6. Okay, where is cosine negative at in quadrants? 2 and 3. Okay, what family members of pi over 6 come out of that? 5 pi over 6 and there's your answers, okay? Number 3, 5 sine theta plus 1 equals 3 sine theta. I need to combine my what? Your like terms. So I'm going to move this over. You see, Mr. Fisher, I'm going to move the 3. That's fine. You're going to get the same thing. Then divide by negative 2. Negative 1/2 equals sine theta. Sine deals with y coordinate. Which family has a y value of negative 1/2? Pi over 6. Where's sine negative? Quad 3 and 4. So this would be 7 pi over 6 and 11 pi over 6 is your answers. Number 4, what strategy would you use here? Sine x plus 2 sine x cosine x equals 0. Factoring, because you can't combine those, can you? It's sine x plus 2 sine x cosine x equals 0. So I'm going to factor that.
You couldn't combine the 2 sines
because you got a cosine here, and that's not like terms. You see that? So that's going to be 2 cosine x. So now I'm going to set sine x equals 0. 1 plus 2 cosine x equals 0. Where's sine 0? That is at 0 and pi. I do not include 2 pi because of my directions. Cosine x equals negative 1/2. That's pi over 3 family. And that's going to be 2 pi over 3 in quad 2. And quad 3 is 4 pi over 3. So you have 4 answers. 0 pi, 2 pi over 3, and 4 pi over 3. Here's a multiple choice you might see. It says determine the phase shift. At this very moment, can you tell me the phase shift? No, because there's a what in front of this x. You got to factor that out. That's why I'm doing one like this. You got to factor that 3 out. Y equals negative 3 sine, and you're dividing, so that goes out. That's going to be. So your phase shift will be what? Pi over 3. And what does that mean? Pi over 3 to the what? Right. So in your multiple choice, you're going to see pi over 3 to the right. Are there any questions on the top part? Okay, these short answers, now you don't have this one on your study guide, but you do have one like this on your test. It's a vector one, okay? It says, given the vectors A, negative 4, 2, and B, 5, 6. What form is that? Is that component or linear? Component. And I want to find the value of negative 6 times A. Then you just multiply that by what? Please don't miss that. That's your answer. It says find A minus B. What does that minus do to everything? So negative 5 minus 4 will be negative 9. 2 minus 6 is negative 4. So you got your short answer one just like that, okay? Then you have it. Now this is on your study guide, so if you want to fill this in, this is the problem off the back of your study guide. It says convert the equation y equals 5 sine theta to rectangular form. Rectangular form involves x and y coordinates, don't it? Okay, so do we need to square both sides here or multiply both sides by an r? Multiply by r, because don't I need an r right here to replace r sine theta? So I'm going to multiply both sides by an r. And when I do that, what can I replace r squared with? X squared plus, very good, equals 5 what? Y, because that is equal to y. Okay? R sine theta is equal to y. So make sure you review all that. That's on your test. So that's your answer. Mason, you writing anything down? You need to be writing too. The last one we're going to go over today is use the Moyer's theorem to expand this binomial. 1 minus I. You have a couple of these on your test. One short answer, one multiple choice. All right. Remember, the first thing you do is put it in polar form. Polar form. So let's find our z. That's a squared plus b squared. My a is 1. My b is negative 1. Now, tangent of theta is your b divided by your a, which is negative 1. So we know we're dealing with the pi over 4 family. Pi over 4, because that's the only family that gives me a tangent of 1. But we've got to think, if we were to graph this in the complex plane, your x is positive, your b value is negative. Where would that be? Quadrant 4. Do you see that? What family of the pi over 4 is in quadrant 4? 7 pi over 4. You remember that? So now I'm going to write it in polar form. Square root of 2 times cosine of 7 pi over 4 plus I sine 7 pi over 4. So that's where you use putting stuff in polar form. Yes, that's on your test. You got to find your modulus. Your modulus is the absolute value. You take your a value and then your b value, not the I, the number in front of I, the coefficient. Plug that in. That's your modulus. That's your absolute value. Then find the angle. Take your b divided by a value. Got to think what quadrant it's in. Okay, now, to find, to expand this. Remember, what do we do with this 5? We raise this to what? 5, and then multiply both of these by what? 5. That's what you do. Raise that outside to 5. Now, how can I rewrite square root of 2? So 2 to the 1/2, I'm going to raise it to the 5th. Cosine, now I'm going to multiply this by 5, this by 5. So that's going to be 35 pi over 4 plus I sine of 35 pi over 4. Now when I have a power raised to power, I need to multiply, don't I? Okay? Alright, now, let's come over and figure out what 2 to the 5/2 is. Which number do you raise 2 to? The 5 or 2? So it's going to be 32 and then the square root of 32, isn't it? Now let's simplify square root of 32. Square root of 32 would be 4 square root of 2. Do y'all see that? If I break that down, that's going to be 4 square root of 2. So that's what I'm going to put on the outside. Now, how many times does 4 go in 35? 8 and 3/4. So 8 means I went around, I'm back right here, don't I? 3/4 would be in quad 1 or quad 2? Quad 2. So cosine would be negative square root of 2 over 2. The sine would be positive square root of 2 over 2.
I thought you would have written it down first.
What now?
What'd you say it reduced to 8?
8 and 3/4, because 4 goes to 35 8 times. That gives you 32. 35 minus 32 is 3/4.
So 8 3/4.
Mm-hmm. Now, we're going to distribute this. Now, watch this. A positive times a negative is going to give you what? Negative. We know that. But what happens to square root times the square root? It cancels, don't it? So you just got 2. What's 2 times 4? 8 divided by 2 is? Okay, positive times a positive is a? Square. That's going to leave me a 2 times 4 is? 8 divided by 2 is? Which equals? Oh, that's right. We forgot our I. Sorry. Forgot my I right here, so that's your answer. Because I forgot to bring that I down. Yep. Thank you, Madison. Negative 4 plus 4i is my answer for that. What was cosine 35 pi over 4? Quadrant 2. Are there any questions on that? Alright, so that reviews all your short answers. What we're going to do next is test review. And we might just get, this might be all we get to today. Let's go over the front and back of this.
What was that other theorem after the more theorem?
The nth roots.
Yeah.
We didn't, that's not on your phone. I wouldn't me at it. Well, a lot of people actually today. That's not the MTH in here. Where's everybody at today?
I think Jesse's
Today is not the day of the action. All right. All right. Tomorrow on your derivative test, the first four you're going to find it using the formal definition. I did not go over the first two that are easy. These two are harder, so I'm going to go over those. It says find f prime using the formal definition. Then find the slope of the tangent line at the given point. So first you find your derivative, and then you're going to find the slope of the tangent line. All right, so let's look at number one. What's our formal definition? The limit is h approaches what? 0 of f of x plus h minus f of x over h. You will not be given that formula tomorrow. You need to know that by heart. All right. On this, if I go to find this, yes, I can show you over here, but I'm thinking by now you should be able to know. I'm taking this and plugging this in for x, aren't I? So I'm going to have the limit as h approaches 0 of x plus h minus 2. I took that, plugged that in. Minus, I take x, I plug it in, does it change it? No. You got one just like this. Now, I tried direct substitution since it's a limit. I still get 0, so now I'm going to rationalize or factor? Mm-hmm. Now I'm going to distribute. This times this, what happens to that? Those square roots cancel out. X plus h minus 2. Now guys, when I multiply this times this, I get a positive. This times this, I get a negative. What always happens in middle terms? So if you don't want to write it, it's fine, okay? Because that's going to be a big monster, isn't looking. But they all cancel. So now I'm just going to say this times this. What's a negative times a positive? A negative. And what happens to those square roots? Now, there's a reason that I put that in parentheses. Because a positive times a negative is a negative. Is that negative going to change everything in parentheses? Yes. Do y'all understand that? Alright, now, I'm going to come under, distribute the h. Looking at the numerator, what happens to these x's? Because this minus will make it a what? And what's this minus 2 going to make it? A positive. So all that's canceled out, isn't it? So I'm left with the limit as h approaches 0 of h over x plus h plus 2 plus h x minus 2. I tried direct substitution again. I'm getting 0 again in the denominator. What strategy can I use in the denominator? Factor. And I'm going to factor out of h.
Why is it plus 2, not minus 2?
Oh, it's supposed to be minus.
That's supposed to be under the thing too.
It's supposed to be minus right here, guys. All that's supposed to be minus, sorry. Grace, you have a question? You good? Okay. What happens to these h's now? And I'm left with 1 over the square root of x plus h minus 2 plus square root of x minus 2. Now I'm going to take 0 and I plug it in. X plus 0 minus 2 would just give me x minus 2, wouldn't it? So I'm left with 1 over... What, buddy?
That minus 2 is supposed to be underneath the bracket.
Yes. You see I got it all right here? Yep. So I got x minus 2 plus x minus 2. Are they the same thing under that radical? They have the same thing under the radical? So that would be 1 over 2 square root of x minus 2, because I can add those. So that is my derivative right there. That's my derivative. Now, if I want to know what's going on at x equals 4 up here, the slope, I take 4, I plug it in. Four minus 2 is? So that 1 square root of 2. You don't have to rationalize here. Just leave it like that right now. Now, is it positive or negative? So what's going on there? Increase or decreasing? Increasing, okay. I want to do this bottom. If we have time, we're going to come back to this one. But that's your formal definition. Alright, let's look at these. We want to find the derivative using the derivative rules. On number 3, do we need to rewrite number 3 to start with? Would it be helpful here? Probably it would. F of x equals 1/2 x to the 4th plus 1/5 x squared plus x. Alright, F prime, here we go. How many parts do you have? How many terms do you have in here? So you can do derivative how many times? 3. Okay. 4 times 1/2 is 2. Take 1 off your x, it'll be 2x what? Cubed. 2 times 1/5 is 2/5 x. And then what's the derivative of just x? 1. And that's your derivative. Number 4. Do we need to rewrite anything on number 4? No, it's good. What's the first derivative of the first term? 12x what? Next. Minus 12x next. Plus 7. And then what's the derivative of any constant?
0.
There's your derivative. AKA slope generator. Alright, number 5. How many terms do you have in there? 3. You're going to have to find the derivative of 3 terms. The first one, do we need to rewrite anything? Is anything causing us grief in that one? No. What's the derivative of 8? So did I put anything down? No. So the first thing would be negative 27x what? 8 times negative 1/4 is negative 2x to the 7th. That's your derivative. Number 6, how many terms do you have in there? 2. Do I need to rewrite anything? No, yes.
Would you want us to put it in standard form with the negative 2x to the 7th?
No, it's fine. But that's a good question. Alright. What was the derivative of the first one? 4x what? Cubed. Okay, this is one term here. We're not going to do anything with the 1/3, but we are going to do something with cosine x. What's the derivative of cosine x? Negative sine. It's already negative here, so negative and negative is going to make a what? Positive. So your derivative will be plus 1/3 sine x. Number 7. Do we need to rewrite anything in number 7? Do you think we need to? Yes, for sure. Let's rewrite this. We need to rewrite that square root of x is 2x to the what? 1/2. And then this right here needs to be 3 times x to the what? Negative 1/2. You need to rewrite your radicals using exponents. Now, f prime, derivative of 5 is 0. 1/2 times 2 is 1. 1/2 minus 1 will be an x to the negative 1/2. Negative 1 times negative 3, negative 1/2 times negative 3 will be a positive 3/2. X to the negative 3/2. Since my problem had radicals in it, I'm going to write my final answer with radicals. F prime of x equals 1 over the square root of x plus 3 over 2 square root of x cubed. That would be my answer there. you at least have to get rid of the negative exponents. Let's say you rewrote it as 1 over x to the 1/2. I'm okay with that. I just don't want to see negative exponents in your final answer. Are there any questions on number 7? Number 8, I'm sorry, I got sloppy. What?
So the exponent of 3x is negative 1/2, right?
Well, right here, since, okay, you know it's x to the 1/2, but since it's denominator, it's negative. That's why it's x to the negative 1/2. Number 8 is kind of sloppy. Let me tell you what I meant. This is what it meant I meant for it to say. F of x equals 4 sine x plus 1 over x. It might look like there's a negative 4, but it's not. How many terms do you have in there? 2. You're going to find the derivative of each one of those. But we need to rewrite something first, don't we? Which one do we need to rewrite? So that would be as plus x to the what? Negative 1. What is the derivative of sine x? So it would be 4 cosine x. Negative 1 times 1 is minus x to the negative 2nd. Because negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. Negative 1 minus 1 is negative 2. That's my derivative, but before I submit my answer, I want to clear up the negative exponent. 4 cosine x minus 1 over x squared. Number 9. Do I need to rewrite anything in number 9 before we begin? Yes. How do I rewrite this first term right here? X to the what? How do I rewrite this term? X to the negative 2nd. Very good. Now I'm ready to find my derivative. Negative 5 times 1 is negative 5. Take 1 off that. That's negative x to the negative 6. 4 times 1 is 4. X cubed. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6, x squared. Negative 2 times negative 1 is positive 2, x to the negative 3. I found my derivative, but I want to clean up the negative exponent, so here we go. Negative 5 over x to the 6 plus 4x cubed minus 6x squared plus 2 over x cubed. And that's my answer. Is this review helping? Okay. This is to the rigor that your test is going to be tomorrow. Number 10. Do I need to rewrite anything on number 10? Yes, that first term gives me some trouble. So I'm going to rewrite that as 1/5 x to the negative 1/2. It's 1/2 because it's the square root. It's negative because it was in the denominator. Do I have to worry about that negative 1/3? No, because that's a constant, so I don't have to worry about that. F prime of x equals negative 1/2 times 1/5 is negative 1/10. X to the negative 3/2. I'm going to rewrite this by a negative exponent. So it'll be F prime of x equals negative 1 over 10 the square root of x cubed. Because the bottom number is your root, the numerator is your power. So negative 1 over 10 the square root of x cubed will be my derivative. So if you were finding the slope of the tangent line at any point in the graph, that's what you would use. Alright, number 11. I'm going to rewrite that as negative 7 times x to the what? 5/8. You get your negative 7, x 5/8. The root goes in the denominator. So I'm going to find the derivative. Negative 7 times 5 is negative 35 over 8x minus 1. That's going to be negative 3/8. Clean it up. Negative 35 over 8, that's negative, so that needs to go in the denominator. That's your root, that's your power. Like I said, this is chapter 1 next year of calculus, so this will be a review. We're going to go through that chapter pretty quickly on limits and derivatives. Derivatives go a whole lot deeper than this. This is just your first intro lesson. Number 12. Do I need to rewrite anything? No, they helped you out there because it's already written, isn't it? So g prime of x equals, what's 2/5 times 5? 10 over 5, which is 2x. Okay, that's going to be negative 3/5. If you minus 1, if you can't do that in your head, then you put it in your calculator. 1/2 times 12 is 6. X to the negative 1/2. Do not have to worry about negative 9 because it is a constant. Now clean it up. 2 over the 5th root of x cubed plus 6 over the square root of x. And that is your derivative for that one. We're going to go back and do that first. I just want to make sure we got through those. Are y'all good on that? You know when to have to rewrite stuff and everything like that? Alright, let's look at this last one. I might have to do this on a piece of paper. The limit as h approaches 0 of f of x plus h minus f of x all over h. Bless you. Now, I'm going to plug x plus h in for this. When I plug that in, I get 1 over x plus h plus 3 minus, if I plug x in, it stays the same, all over h. Okay, the limit is h approaches 0. I still get 0 in the denominator. So what toolkit strategy I'm going to do? Find a what? Can you make either one of those look like each other? No, so your common denominator is going to be both of them, won't it? So I'm going to come over here and show it to you. Oop. This side was missing the x plus 3, so I'm going to multiply it by 1. I get x plus 3 up here. This side was missing the x plus h plus 3, so I'm going to multiply it up here. What is this minus going to do to everything up here? So you got x plus 3 minus x minus h minus 3 all over x plus h plus 3. Everything that doesn't have an h should cancel out. So I'm left with the limit as h approaches 0 of negative h over x plus h plus 3 times x plus 3 all over h. I'm going to write out what that means right here. That means this divided by h. Divided by h. Flip it, what happens to h's? And I'm just left with negative 1 over x plus h plus 3 and x plus 3. So I go back to my original problem. I take 0 to plug in for h now. I got just literally x plus 3 times x plus 3, don't I? So I can just write that as negative 1 over x plus 3 what? Squared is my derivative. You said, Mr. Escher, what if I forgot and just put negative 1 over x plus 3 times x plus 3? That's fine, okay? But that is your derivative, okay? And then if I want to know what's going on at negative 1, I plug negative 1 back in. Negative 1 plus 3 is what? 2. 2 squared is? Negative 1 over 4 is negative. So is it increasing or decreasing? Okay. Any questions on that? Do we need to go over homework or is that good?